just about the latest happenings on RISC OS, I suppose. The first place to start is my ARM Mini X, which I was proud to get a few months ago, which has been a lovely machine. But if we start on the main updates, which have been a couple of browsers for RISC OS that support JavaScript and better HTML. Now, bearing in mind the processing power of the current range of RISC OS machines, and that includes all of them pretty much, well it does, they're largely not as powerful as most modern smartphones, so expecting heavy JavaScript sites to run quickly is not going to happen, but they do run. If you're running heavy JavaScript, then you're better off really running it on a PC at the moment. But there's two browsers. The first one is called Cupzilla, and this gives you an idea of how long it takes to launch, which is quite a while. So patience is the key.
Go on, Mark. You have to tell us what case style did you ask for?
Andrew actually said to me, "What case do you want?"
Yeah. He said, "What's the most awkward one to get?"
Well, I couldn't see the size of it. I went on to one of the overclockers site, went around, and then eventually found there's a German company that produces these. They've stopped making these cases, but they do various cases like this. So I largely wanted a fanless case. So that's why it's called a H-frame, but it's pretty much open. You can have glass on one of them, but the insides are not immaculate. I did have a look at tidying the cabling up, but it's fairly tight in there. And Andrew's done a really good job with the cabling. And my brief attempt ended up with me having a few problems, so I quickly cabled it back and then put the other one back and went, okay, that's fair enough. I was quite impressed with the job he did. And that's not launched. Did he actually double click it? Possibly not. That would have been embarrassing, waiting 20 minutes for something to start that.
Did you double click that time?
No. Okay, so it's not, that one's not running, which is a good start. I wonder if it's because I've got Emula running. Let's see. Because this was working for me last night, so.
Such a presentations.
There we go. So maybe it doesn't really like Emula. Maybe that's my excuse.
About 15 seconds.
Yeah. So one of the surprises, the BBC News website, which uses JavaScript to actually load the images, which seems a bit of a bizarre thing to do. But so it does seem to load relatively quickly. So it's usable, but you can see there the images haven't loaded. You just have to wait. Again, it's patience is the key. One of the main benefits of having JavaScript, you can use Google Maps and things like that. So it is slow. So I think asking whether the video on the BBC website is probably pushing it a little bit too far. There was talk of supporting video, HTML5 video within the browser.
How much memory does it take up?
Pardon?
How much memory does it take up?
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
That's Okay, there we go. So there we go. It's all the Cupzilla stuff there. And here as well. So it's it likes its memory. I'd say about 256 meg would be my guess. But I mean to put, although it is slow, to put it in perspective, if you're running heavy stuff, to run a web browser these days, really, at least I would really recommend at least a minimum of dual core 3 GHz with 8 GB RAM if you're doing heavy browsing. So it's a sad state of affairs really when you actually look at it. We've got some. Let's do Google Maps because that's a kind of useful type web page to go on. It's quite lucky because it detects that Cupzilla is a mobile browser. So it enters it in mobile mode, which makes it pretty rapid. But you'll notice you can't do much in the mobile browser, so we go to Classic, and then that'll fire up all the wonderful JavaScript stuff. And then go on to Maps. As I was saying, patience is definitely the key with this. You can see it's slowly loading up. Obviously I'm not going to go on too many websites because I've probably got on 4 websites and that'll be the whole talk taken up, which is probably not going to interest most people. It's just more to show Google Maps is a reasonably heavy JavaScript site, and the fact that it works is kind of handy. There are other lighter things such as if you were configuring Wi-Fi access points via Ethernet, which before could be very problematic because of the web browser. So if you had an Ethernet to Wi-Fi bridge and you're trying to configure it using NetSurf, you might have problems. So for things like that, you could set this up quite easily. But it does work. I won't go into it too much because, as you say, each click seems to take quite a considerable amount of time. You can see, you can zoom in. So just that one click is taking a while, so I'll give up on that for the moment. But the one thing I can do is, which I do use it for, is my webmail. Now I've got a choice on mine. I can either use the heavy JavaScript one or standard. If I use standard, it's not as quick as using Chrome on a fast PC, but it's usable. So there you go. That's my webmail. And it opens. It's reasonably quick. It's definitely usable. Which it gives a better display than NetSurf does at the moment. But then if you can compare with general surfing with NetSurf, NetSurf is miles quicker. but it's kind of handy. And the other one is Otter Browser. I'll just see if it's actually cleaned up. Yeah, it's cleaned everything up. Which is pretty much the same, so I won't go into much detail, but there's Cupzilla and Otter Browser. Both variations, really. Whichever one you prefer. The only problems that I had were you have to disable the disk cache, otherwise images don't tend to load. And obviously this isn't, you can see it's not RISC OS, so it's like shift and select on the bottom right to resize the window, which is interesting.
So where did this one start off then? I think I've heard of this one before.
Otter Browser. Otter Browser is quite a lightweight browser. I think both of them use the WebKit, but that's whether one's faster than the other. I wouldn't like to say really. Variations on the theme. Try and do spelling.
Must be that swanky new keyboard you've got. Is that special BBC red keys?
That was another one I purchased recently was the keyboard, which a company called LSR, which I believe is Rob Sprowson, who by the looks of his keyboard he's quite a bit into engineering, because it looks heavily over-engineered.
I think it's a cherry keyboard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the brown, so it's quite clickety-click, and well, clackety-clack, but it's not too bad, it's not horrendous, so it's a nice mix of the two, which is what I was after. I think that when I first got it I thought, well, if a burglar comes into the house, I've got this keyboard, he's not going to stand a chance. It's meaty to say the least.
They say hit them with it.
Yeah, you could do some serious damage. But there's a kind of comparison of the two. You see on the real one, I'd say it's virtually identical. You can see the different fonts rendering, but the speed difference is fairly noticeable. So it's not too bad. So those are the browsers. Where are we going next? Just hang on. Oh yeah, the NetSurf, of course. Yeah, there's a NetSurf 3.5 release, which I would very much doubt that I'm not on. I think it will be 3.5. So that was released in April. Nothing really big to shout about. More improvements on the JavaScript support, but it's still quite lacking. It's going to be quite a struggle to get full JavaScript support. Whether you actually want it or not is another question.
What's its CSS capability at the moment?
Off the top of my head, I've not looked. I don't think anything's changed. I think it's still it's on the website. It's just bug fixing 3.5. CSS 2.1. HTML4. So the main problems though is with more modern sites, it's going to be the JavaScript that kills it, because it's ridiculously heavy most sites with JavaScript.
None of mine.
Pardon?
None of mine.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So next one, back to the next thing is you'll notice the sound bar on my on the desk. One of the updates recently for the ARMX6 was the ability to put sound through via the HDMI socket rather than the standard audio out. I was reasonably happy with the sound, but it was a bit tinny, I found, going through a speaker. So I thought I would give it a go. The first problem I had was the sound only works if your monitor supports EDID. My monitor does, but it's corrupted, which is lovely. Which appears to be the fact that when they made the monitor, they decided at the last minute, we'll just make some changes, and they didn't update the checksum. So when RISC OS gets it, and it just says, checksum's rubbish, go away. Which is unlucky for me, really. So the next thing I did was to buy one of these HDMI converters. It's fairly simple, HDMI in, HDMI out, and then you've got two jack sockets. I'm probably not using the right terminology. Phonos.
Yeah.
See, I told you my knowledge of sound is on and off.
RCA phones.
Red and white
Jones can
holes that you can plug. Yeah, and also this other one, which you can plug optical cables into.
CLSP do.
Yeah.
Sony Philips digital interface.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing I did was just got standard set of cables, plugged it into the phono sockets, and then into a speaker. And just that alone was I was amazed at the sound quality difference between the two. There was no distortion. The bass and trebles were far clearer, and that was just on. It was just a little. I've got a little portable speaker. It's not great, but it kind of does the job. It's kind of good for carrying around the house, kind of thing. But that really made a big difference. I was quite impressed. Now the options on these seem to be very similar. There seem to be three ways of running it. One of them is called pass-through, and then there's 2-channel and 5.1 channel. Now pass-through does what it sounds like. It just passes the information from the monitor through and then splits it, or the other way, kind of. Yeah. It takes the data from the monitor, talks to the computer, and then splits the sound out. And that worked really well with this one. The 2-channel and the 5.1 channel, they seem to have a standard. They don't actually pass the information through the EDID, because if you notice, the one I've got at the moment, I've got it on pass-through. So you can see it's picked up the monitor type as Optima, which is the name of the projector. So it's actually pulling the name from the projector, not from the actual audio. But if I change this to, I can change one of the dip switches. This one's got dip switches on it. If I change the dip switches, this may go a little bit sideways, but let's turn HDMI off, audio off, and back on. And it's not made a difference, which is one thing I've noticed. You have to take the power out of the converter, and on the other one you have to also disconnect the HDMI cable, because it seems to provide power. The HDMI cable seems to provide enough power to keep the thing going, which kind of makes me think, why has it got power? But
For those that don't, I think.
So if we turn it off and on again, this should get some funny name, whether it's 2K or 4K or something like that. There we go. So you can see there. It's no, you can't see that. Oh, there we go.
Wait for it, wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you can see it's not pulling the EDID information from the projector anymore. It's using its own internal. The problem I have with this is it only, even though it says 4K, but I have a feeling that it only supports 16 by 9. Because my monitor can do 1920 by 1200, but this never picks up that, it doesn't pick that one up.
No, that's just past the HDMI standard. It's the PC version which sticks an extra couple hundred pixels in the bottom. Just
Right,
for fun.
okay. That'll
So
be,
it bangs it just out, and depending how fussy it is.
that would explain it then, yeah. So I'll put it back on, pass through. Now this is the point where I found out my soundbar doesn't work, and then that would be quite amusing. But let's just hope it does work. Let's go back to. I don't know how loud it is, so not too loud because my wife wouldn't be too happy. So one of the utilities that is it Jim Lassurf, who's quite the sound nut from my understanding, or certainly compared to me is an absolute genius. But to be fair, that's not really difficult. But this shows you all the sample rates it supports. These are the sample rate. These bits at the top are the ones that the RX6 can support, and these ones here are the ones that the audio converter can support. The first one I was using, this one, it supported far less, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter for an RX6. I'm not sure we can get digital theatre sound, and I don't have the I don't have the equipment to play that, or the neighbours who would put up with it, to be honest. But so this one seems to be all singing, all dancing as well. The good thing was the price point. I was quite surprised. Some people might hate it, but I quite like Amazon just for the convenience. And I picked them up for about £20–25, which is not too bad. It's kind of, and I took a bit of a pump as well, so it's like it should work, and both of them work really well. I got the first one, and I thought, well, there seemed to be a lot of interest, so I thought I just started getting a bit more interested. Like, got on there after a bit, tried this one, and this one, it says it's 4K, but it seems to be a little bit better. But I say my sound equipment isn't exactly great. The maximum rate the soundbar supports is 48,000. I think that's 48,000 sample rate. Because I've tried going higher and it doesn't seem to have much results, but because that brings us on to another update for digital CD, which was released 8th of May this year. Now, one of the things it couldn't do before was play CDs, so it can now. So you might notice the Biac CD. Now, I'm going to have to apologise. This was the first CD that came out, and I did buy it when I was about 18, so CD player. So if we, does it show? rescan it. Let's picked it up. It's not playing very loudly, that, really.
Should we have the blue light on the front on the soundbar when they've gone to sleep again?
No, there shouldn't be any light on it when it's on. So now I need to work out why the sound isn't working. So. The worst thing that could go wrong demoing sound has gone wrong.
Of course.
The curse of the box.
So that's in there, that's in there. Because one of the things I noticed is if you change the sample rates, the soundbar tends to get a bit confused. So that does not appear to be the case.
Have we got an extra bit kit in today that we don't normally have?
Yeah, but
We've got extra splitter, haven't we?
it should still go straight through.
This is the short book that we have at work. It's called The Joys of HDMI. Can work.
I'll see if it's just a CD player and that, but I don't think so. Nope. So the only other thing I can think now is it's the projector getting in the way, so let's remove that out of the equation just to see. Which place? That's the power cable. Plugging it into there is not going to happen. Now my arm minis, I must have caught something. This is going from...
Not the volume.
No.
Not right input.
Can select the book, yes.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah. But the sound...
Read the instructions after you've decided it's not working.
What?
Read the instructions after you've decided
The what?
it's not working. Yeah,
So, instructions is not something...
exactly.
I have, you know...
It should
Being a man, I can't read instructions. You know.
They should work without instructions, I agree with you.
Yeah. So let's see if we can get this maze of cables back away. So that goes into there. Let's actually put that in here.
Bit 1 Pearl 3.
So I think when I said I didn't know much about sound, you can now see.
You're right.
So it is quite a surprise if I can get this working. Then pretty much most people should be able to. But hopefully have. Right, let's move this back down.
Tell you what, Mark, there's a special treat I'll let you turn it over a bit
But you can hear that the bass is reasonable on that. It's not distorted, and it's quite nice. Well, if you want, I can turn it off if you want.
Will come back better on the sound.
Yeah.
It's a reasonably basic song, so. I'm not sure how loud this goes. I've never.
No, I
think it's now it goes quiet, so I turn it off. Sounds reasonably clear, and this is it's quite a big room, so it doesn't really fill it very well. The room size I've got in is tiny, yeah, so it's quite nice, and also have it right in front of my face, so that's. But that seems to work quite well. And as I say, just plugging, just using the HDMI just for a little speaker made a huge difference. Anyway, going back, I'll try and get this. If I stop this and get the hopefully some really dodgy. I'm not going to say when it's from because that'll give away my age, obviously. But there you can see the. You can just about hear the music coming out. And there is a way to get the, that's the CD. So it uses Acorn CD to pull off the information off the internet about CDs. But that's nice because there's obviously before this, I think there was just Music Man which played. But now obviously there's Music Man and digital CD, and both. Some people have had problems with Music Man, but I've had no problems. It seems to work fine for me, both Music Man and, well, I had a few problems with digital CD, which was just one of the settings. For the drivers, CDFS, I had to set it to CD read audio. I think it was set to CD play audio. So it's just a case of changing that setting in the driver's choices, and then it all worked fine. So I felt a bit dumb when someone said that. I thought, yeah, I really should have just at least had a little play, but it didn't occur to me. So that's the music stuff pretty much covered. And the other thing at the show, which was Richard Keefe. It's always handy having author information to remember names. Which I updated my subscription to Impression X, but as of yet there's still not been any updates for it. And also for Artworks, there's a new version of Artworks due out at some point.
Yeah, it's supposed to be maybe nowish, I think.
Yeah,
I think he advised us to wait a month or so.
Yeah, it's still. I've still not received anything as yet.
No. So can Impression X deal with JPEGs, or does it do it a bit like the way around?
What do you mean deal with JPEGs?
Well, original the everything works in sprites, didn't it?
Oh, right, I see what you
drop a
mean.
JPEG in, you had to convert it to a sprite to then put it in your
I
document.
think it does. Well, we can easily find out. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find something that's not. Oh well. Oh, that's just going to be huge. Have we got any backdrops? That'll be less. There you go.
Yeah.
I think there was something saying it's going to support JPEGs.
Yeah.
That was the theory, yeah. Because that's a sticking point effectively at the moment for most people.
But I just like it. I mean, the one of the things. I mean, my skills are, my desktop publishing skills are, I think, limited would be a nice way of putting it. But my daughter wanted to do a happy birthday card. It shows my amazing skills. And all she wanted to do was, it was just literally that, happy birthday, 4 images on a piece of A4. Couldn't do it in Word.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's intriguing this because
It's like, seriously? Well, it's like, that is not exactly kind of a highly skilled piece of work.
absolutely not.
And because she was trying to do it on Word, my wife tried to do it, and then they asked me and said, sorry, I don't touch Word. Which is kind of one of my principles. It's like, look, you can have it in Notepad, text format. If you want to fancy it up, get someone else to do that. Excel, I unfortunately sometimes have to use, but I try and avoid. But Word, and again, this took me 2 minutes to do an impression, and it wasn't something I had to work out how to do. It's kind of like, I've not got a clue how to use it. I should be able to do this. I'll get surprised. That's what you do. So that's why I like it.
Intriguingly, I used to work at one. I thought, why are they using PowerPoint so much? And the answer was, you could put 4 pictures on the screen. You can't do it in Word or anything else. Microsoft, you have to buy PowerPoint to do that.
It's quite
Bonkers.
how people manage to use Word is sometimes beyond me. It's
It's a very capable word processor, but it is not a desktop.
No. In fact, if you weren't bothered about fancy pictures, I've used Impression Junior before now, which runs from an 800k floppy, even on my A9 home.
Yeah.
And of course you can use it on anything.
well, that's what I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used
This
Impression
one is
Junior.
256 colours, so as long as you know that, that's alright.
Because I remember doing printouts on a dot matrix printer.
Oh yeah. Well,
That was loud.
yeah.
In graphics mode on that thing.
Yeah.
That,
I've done scanned images as pictures in a document with 9-pin dot matrix.
but the results were shockingly good. It was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the other, I suppose the other sound app which was released, which is in itself it doesn't do a lot, but I think it's an absolutely fantastic app. Net Radio. It uses MPlayer, so you can select a radio station, click play. I don't listen to Radio 1, but it's very easy to use. So and there's you can search for radio stations. So I don't know whether there's.
Riding's FM. Riding's FM, you want.
What's it? Sorry?
Riding's FM.
Ridings. That's kind of annoying. But there is where is it? There's a web page you can go to, which lists so many radio stations that it's unbelievable. So you can get all these radio stations and they just plug in. And considering how easy that is to use, it's really good. And it seems to work without too many problems. But anyway, there was an option on the net radio page. It's got a website. But there's another version of, there we go, radiofeeds.co.uk, I think is one, there's quite a few, where you can get radio stations. For the later machines, there is floating point version of M player, so you can just download that and use that instead. Modern machines are more than capable, but hey, what the heck, the more grunt you can throw out and the less CPU it can use, the better. So I just put that on, and that didn't seem to be a problem. The other one that came out was a weather application, which is really nice. I was quite impressed with it. Not as good as mine, of course.
Of course not.
But if you look to the source of the two, it's quite staggering. But there you go. It's quite nice. And I think, yeah, it opens the weather page on the BBC, assuming I've still got internet access. Yeah, there we go. Well, at least it's nice at the weekend.
BBC weather pages count as fiction.
Well, if it says it's nice at the weekend, I'm going to believe it. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter.
Positive
Exactly.
thinking.
Well, it's not a bank holiday weekend, so it stands a better chance than
That is true. But if we look at the weather app, it's written in BASIC, which is nice. And the size of it is, I mean, it's a fraction of the size of mine. It requires wget, so it uses wget rather than I ended up doing it all from scratch. Well, probably because I'm a masochist, but I don't know whether I've got the source. I mean, that's the main section of code that just deals with the web interface for that, and then there's all the socket handling as well. So I was really impressed, and the fact it's written in BASIC shows it's a nice little demo for people to get up to speed to. So I was really impressed with that. I did a good job. There's an update to Pac-Man as well, so I don't know whether people have used that. Unfortunately, it's not Pac-Mania. It's just a list of. It's a package managed for RISC OS. So I think this update was mainly for the Raspberry Pi 3. But if you've not used it, it's quite nice. There's got quite a few apps there that you can play with. I don't think I've particularly used it, but there's Otter. You can get Otter browser. You can download from it.
Can you show us Otter on there?
On
That list.
it's there.
Otter browser, honest.
No, I couldn't get that today. I updated.
It might be. You might need to set your.
Sources.
Yeah, that's the one. Where is it? There's somewhere.
Advanced, advanced.
Yeah, advanced sources. Yeah, it's probably one of the sources are missing. So that might be worth adding to the newsletter article just about the sources for Pac-Man, because it's quite. Because when I first got Pac-Man and installed it, it's like there's nothing to install. It's a bit rubbish. You add the sources and then it's quite a lot more. So.
Thank you for that.
May I just ask what text editor you use?
Depends what time of day it is.
What was popping up when you were showing those seesaws?
Right, that's desk edit. I tend to flick between desk edit, but I still like Zap. I'm a big fan of Zap. I've been trying to persuade myself to use Strong. Is it Strong Edit? Strong Edit. Because Zap's not really supported as such, and the fact that Strong Edit's still going, I think, well, I really should. I just can't stand it. I mean, that's just my personality, and I keep on going back to it and going, I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna get used to it. And I think it's like the Vim Emacs kind of thing. I think once, if I start liking it, I'll go, oh, Zap, it's horrible. So, who knows?
To me, it sounds like Vegemite and Marmite. I don't like how
The other thing at the show, obviously, was I forgot his name. Surprise, surprise. But there was Zeroid came out. I don't know whether it's another fun game. Hopefully, this will come up on the screen. Yeah. So it's reasonably simple. Up arrow to accelerate, and you have to try and stay on the path, which I usually do better than that, to be fair. But probably just going at full whack all the time isn't the best. But considering I'm on beginner mode, is probably should be able to go full whack. But it's kind of nice. Surprisingly enough, my kids really like this. But one of the things they said, well, can't they make it easier? Yeah, you are on beginner, and they kind of have the same problem as me. You know, I want to go flat out. I don't want to slow down. Why should I slow down? Well, that's part of the skill of doing it. So that's a nice little game. And, I was very surprised that the kids liked it quite so much.
That's a purchase form, isn't it? Rather
Yeah.
than a freebie. Yeah.
Let's go on to. Why is it?
Games always do that, I think is the phrase.
Do it manually. Looks like it's having problems with the.
Because it's gone to 1200, 1920.
It was about sound parameters not recognised.
Oh, was it? Oh, right. That didn't come up on the screen.
I have no idea why that happened.
Yeah. It's a game. It's a
Again,
game.
the doors.
So there was an update to Legends as well. I don't know whether I've not really had much chance to play that, but that's kind of old school. Well, it does look kind of. I think this is having a bit of a paddy because I'm using the projector. Because I can't see what I'm doing on the screen. I get out of range on my screen in this.
Yeah.
So if I remember the so you walk around, pick up stuff. It's kind of like text adventure style thing, but with graphics. So probably not.
Game without text.
Yeah, but I know it's. When I said it, I thought that just sounds daft.
But we knew what you meant.
Yeah. So there's a baddie there, which I'm not going to try and kill because I won't. And he'll come running after me and kill me. There we go, he's after me. He's going to kill me. And he probably will. But that's... I get a neck ache.
Yeah, that one was running at 85 Hertz, which is probably why your screen wouldn't work. Normally they give up about 70.
So the other thing which came out recently, which was an update to what's it called? AD. I'm not going to say it. Some Acorn emulator thingy. I'll just hang on. So on the ARMX, it runs natively on the Raspberry Pis, but on the newer machines it doesn't. It's AD.
the games.
ADFFS.
Oh, that one, yes.
Yeah, I can never remember whether it's ADDFS or AD, but anyway. So that had an update. One of the things that it can play now, which was one of my favourites as a kid, was
Interesting.
of no use to anyone because you can't see anything. Let's see if I can. But one of the things that you can play is Orion, which I don't know whether anyone remembers.
There you go.
It's a sideways scroller. Aliens come down, you have to shoot the aliens, they pick up men, go to the top of the screen, and then they kind of go purple and nuts when they go to the top. But there's basically more. There's a couple more games
It's
available.
bad again.
So find a resolution it likes. I think is the.
Probably not the resolution to refresh.
See if I can. But it's nice to see some of the old kind of classic games being able to be played on the machines again. And again, so these are all available for free, so you can just download them off the JASP forum, which can be interesting to find. Because I have a similar problem with JASP as I have with ADFFS. It's the Archimedes Software Preservation Society.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I don't know where the J comes from. I don't know where the other letters or how they make sense. That doesn't seem to have done a lot, because at the moment I'm. I wonder if I kick that into.
Oh, what's improving?
Yeah, I think
That's interlaced.
that's yeah. I think it's going too old school. It's
Yeah. I know some of the old games said, what monitor have you got? Choice of 3, and if you haven't got it, you're stupid.
okay. We've got that's, at least that's. Let's see if it's. Well, it's working for me. Is it going?
Oh, look at
That's
that.
not what I'm seeing. I
Oh,
don't know whether
I've had to do that.
I can't quite switch it all the way around. But
Definitely not.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so, and my skill at this game is minimal, but it's kind of fun. Actually, I'm doing better doing it backwards. Anyway, there's a few games like that you can download off the JASP website, and if you've got a new machine, not a Raspberry Pi ARM-X6 or the CJ1 or the Titanium, then using Archem or Acorn mode, and then using ADDFS in there is fine. It works no problem, and that provides quite a bit of fun because there's quite a few games available for that. Gods, James Pond, it's
oh, good grief.
Blast from the Past, and it's kind of fun. There was the RISC OS M update. I don't know whether this was a recent update. There's been quite a few. In fact, there was another update about a few weeks ago. I'm losing the producing updates quite quickly. It's nice, but I'm losing track of what updates, what are in the updates. But one of the nice things now is I search for, say, Swanland. Where is it? Find web photos, search term, Swanland. and it will fetch some pictures of around, which is really nice, a really nice feature to be able to do. So the water tower, etc., etc. So it gives a bit more, and those are, you know, you can move over where the pictures are. So if we move over here, find web photos. What if you need to put a search term in? No, you don't. Which is kind of neat, so you can say, oh, I'll take a look there. Oh, there's a railway, there's a motorway. That's probably not what it's going to be used for, but it's a nice little, a nice feature, and it works really well.
So, any strange coloured telephone boxes?
So I mean, there's been loads more updates to RISC OS, but that's the one that I've noticed recently. It's neat that it's made it. I bought it and it was kind of like, it's quite nice, and then did a bit of walking. You can download your walks onto it, and it'll draw the map of where you've been. But this, and I kind of got a bit bored with that, largely because the time to do walks has gone down, unfortunately. But this is a really neat feature, so if you're going somewhere you can just quickly have a look. And you may have noticed a slight speed increase from using Google Maps on RISC OS than this, so it's a great little application.
It's not very expensive either, is it? Something like £25.
I'm not sure it's even that much. I'm not sure. It's not much.
I think it should be charged more, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's given 25, including 5 worth of sort of data maps.
All right, yeah.
So it was 20 for the Pro and
Yeah,
and
and 5 for
obviously some
maps,
data for it.
Because it originally was it UK and Holland you got?
Yeah.
So you then can buy extra maps now, can't you?
But you can actually do the maps yourself
Yeah.
if you've got the patience and time. You can tell I have.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so there's the Impression X update. I hope there will be more to come, because as I say, I think it's a fantastic program. Artworks update, which is to be released. Rule DDE, there'll be an update for that soon, hopefully again. We've already covered digital CD. NetFetch got updated to 4.0. I don't really use it, so there were updates there've been updates for RISC OS with better Jpeg handling, which is quite good. One of the things that RISC OS couldn't handle was I think progressive JPEGs.
Right.
So now it's the ones where if you load them, they look like really naff, and then you load a bit more and you go, that's a bit better.
A bit like interlaced gifts.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, images are another area of expertise for me as well. Yeah, I've not managed to do it, but that's not really a surprise. I did have a go at doing it. But for me, just the fact that you can run impression, and he's continuing with the port to make it fully 32-bit. So from that point of view, I think, well, anyone insane enough to do that deserves backing. So I wish him all the best with that. The other thing I got was for fun. Well, there's a new version of Doom out for, I think, the PlayStation 4.
Alright, yeah.
So we have the original version of Doom. Hey. But one of the things, again, this goes back to the sound, is oh yeah, the folder called Doom. It now comes with the high, well, it won't be high definition, but it comes with no sound.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, this is good. I think I might have to, but it does come with high quality sound.
Yeah, there's something Andrew said at the show theatre.
Yeah. And my sound seems to have given up. It could be if I just switch it off and off. Switch it on and off.
Strange
Off.
with that,
Yeah. Because it could be that, because it's when you change it seems to be when you change the sample rate or frequency, the sound bar tends to go a bit funky. So whether that'll just automatically work, or whether I've done something with the projector that's caused it to. No. But either way, it's kind of good fun. My kids wanted to play it, but they're 11, so I'm like, not really.
Wait till 14 you can.
Yeah, but it's on easy level. It's kind of actually I can actually play it and actually do reasonably well. So it's a good way to pass time. And it's kind of fun and brings back some memories. Yeah. I've yet to find someone who I can play deathmatch with.
Any idea what the frame rate is? Because that looks really quite smooth.
Does,
Mind you, you've got
yeah.
a busy processor.
Yeah, I have no idea what the frame rate is, but it's pretty smooth. As I say, there is sound on it, but the sound seems to have gone all funky. If I was bothered, I'd fix it, but I've done most of it, so there's no point in doing that. The other one, there's if anyone uses Ovation, Rick Murray did a plugin over HTML, which allows you to import HTML into Ovation, which is kind of nice. Let's see, where is it at? There we go, over HTML.
Hasn't Rick done Novation or Ovation Pro?
I think it will.
I think it was working once it was Ovation or Novation Pro.
I think it will work on Ovation now because I'm not sure because I've not tried it. But the reason I say that is Rick Murray, who did the OV-HTML, has done a new version of Ovation.
Oh, we've done it for the Pro version.
No, he's re-released. They've re-released Ovation.
Ovation, yeah.
So I would assume, given the fact that he did OV-HTML, and I think the Ovation, or he started talking about it and getting it all out again, probably about 2 months before I noticed this OV-HTML. So I'll be fairly sure that it would work, but I've not tried it. But I think I can't remember how we do this exactly. We save that page. It's kind of done it. There are options you can use if you go into. That was it. You go into. Where is it? There's one of these where you can. How do you set it up? Is it installed it in? There's some configuration you can use to set it up. I'm not really 100% sure. You can obviously reading the help is obviously a good start. Again,
After you find that again.
yeah, obviously you have to try and double click with holding the Alt key. I knew it's something really obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And then configure comes up, and then you can set various stuff up there for the import. But it seems to work okay. It's not perfect, but that's a nice little plugin. The other one I found was the Bbit emulator. I don't know whether anyone's used that before, but it lets you run BBC programs, all BBC programs on your machine. And there's an update for that recently. One of the things I would like to get working is XR, which was a really old, well, it's obviously all old games on the BBC, but it was probably, I think it was one of the best games you can get for the BBC, but it needs a manual to read from it, and all the manuals available online, but they don't seem to line up, so you get the code wrong.
Oh, it's sort of like the third letter of 7th line on page 5.
Yeah, and it's but these are quite good. You can there's a few that work, a few that don't. I only just had a brief look. Moonbase Alpha didn't. That was one of the ones that I thought was really good. But you can just drag it onto there. Is it?
And interlaced again.
Disappointing. But I get a BBC, you get the, I can't show everyone, but you get the BBC prompt there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and press shift break. I don't know whether that's.
That should work, used to work.
Real catch is
See,
this thing that's
oh, that's nice.
if you said it's a whole picture.
So the question is, where's the start key?
So it's a PC picture. Could be anything.
Oh, there it is, of course. It's,
And some things will be out of range. We can on that, some on monitors at work, and some are good. Because it goes 60 or some monitors you go 60.
hopefully we should get something, maybe not. No. But as I said, some of the BBC games work and some of them don't. It's kind of hit and miss. I think I got Killer Gorilla 2 working. I got Exile working, which was my main. It was like, yes, excellent. I was really pleased about that. And it's if you like retro, and it's a great thing to look at. So you will need a bit of patience to try and get the things working. But the ROMs for the BBC they were available to get on the internet. They weren't difficult to find. Anyway, what the other? Oh, there were updates for Cashbook and Locate from Mr. Fryatt, but I've not had a chance to really look at them. But he was at the show doing those. I'm sure he will enlighten us about those shortly. The other good one was in Rule. There was an update for Omni. So anyone who's I recently flashed my router with some custom firmware, at which point Landman 98 stopped working with it, which was annoying. But Omni started working. I downloaded the latest Omni, which didn't work before, and now that works. So if you want to use Windows file shares, you can download Omni off the real website. If you go to the downloads and then other downloads, I think there's miscellaneous, and then download the hard disk. It'll be download the nightly beta, and that just contains. I wouldn't advise anyone to just install the whole thing, but you get a folder structure similar to this, and then if you just go into network, there'll be an Omni folder, so you can copy that somewhere else, and then if it didn't work, you've not caused any mayhem. And also the updated version of Change FSI is there as well in the I think the utilities folder, I think is where it lives. Yeah, so you can get, because that's kind of what I do when I keep an eye on it, and then you can get updates to various bits and pieces. Then there's a recent update to Pipe Dream. Again, as you said here, see help. So I was obviously really highly interested in that, but there is a help file in PipeDream, and it's nice to see that one being updated, and it's still being worked on, so that was good. Photo filer, which I completely forgot about I had. I don't know whether anyone uses it, but it's kind of neat. You load it there, and then if you go into a folder, you get previews on the images, which is kind of nice. These are taking a while because these are off a camera, so they're reasonably large. One of the things not to do is to enable artworks, because one of the options is to show artworks thumbnails. However, that is something not to do, as I found when you select that and go into an artworks folder, bang, your machine just locks up. So that one's not been, there's some problems there somewhere. Because I was like, oh, it does artworks folders. So first thing, go into an artworks folder. Oh, my mouse isn't working. Oh, nothing's working. Oh, Control-V doesn't work. Oops. So, but apart from that, it works really well. And the main one for that is obviously for JPEGs. It's kind of a nice thing. If anyone uses VNC server, his name, Lee. It's one of the guys at Rule has done an update for VNC server to make it much more performant, much better. It's something I will have a look at. I'm actually looking at the source code to pinch ideas from, which he suggested. It's like, oh, that's nice. So he's done some black magic in his source code, which I'm quite amazed at. I didn't know you could do. Again, the M player, the floating point upgrade for it is kind of nice. And the last thing which I found it is in the, going back to impression, the impression X stuff. There are a couple of things. One of the things I like is WordWorks, which is a thesaurus, which is kind of nice, which is bundled with it. There you go. Appropriate at this time of year. So it's a nice little thesaurus. One of the other things is font conversion. You notice I've got quite a few fonts. You'll notice Courier New and Courier, which are Windows fonts, which you can just convert and bring to RISC OS quite easily. From what I understand legally, if you own a Windows machine, because you can do the same on Linux. You can do the import. So this, as part of Impression X, there is somewhere other apps. Yeah, TTF, 2F. But so you find a font. I store it in documents, of course. So if you wanted to convert one, these are all the fonts I just grabbed off my Windows machine. So it would literally just be a case of drag it in there, call it something, and save in. And I'll probably want to put it in there. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll just call it that, and then convert. And then hopefully I should have that as a font. Where's the font thingy? It's characters, that's all. It's not showing up. Let's see if it should have at least. Resources. Yeah. it's put it in there. Let's see, do I just need to... Oh, there we go. And that's done the font conversion. So that's quite a neat little app to convert fonts. I had a feeling that there was one that came with RISC OS to change the fonts, but I had a few problems with it. That was it. T1 to font. But I had mixed luck with that. But as I say, the one that came with Impression X made life a lot easier.
The T1 is PostScript fonts, isn't it?
Whereas the other one's TrueType, which is Windows standard.
Yeah, so I think that is the end. If there's anything else that anyone wants me to... Oh, there's an organiser update, of course. It apparently it integrates with OSM,
Yes.
but I haven't got a clue how it does that because I have both, and for the life of me, I cannot work it out. So if anyone does know, I'll be extremely grateful.
If you've seen RISC OSM, you've got an address in your address book. Clicking on the address will load the map up.
That's it. Yeah.
But you have to have RISC OSM open.
No, you just need to have seen it.
So it's got the address book.
Let's see, organiser.
Find out where it is in the world.
Yeah. Have you seen RISC OSM?
It's running at the moment.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah.
Addresses?
Address.
Go on.
I only put one in there, but
Right. So from the menu from there, I think it is.
that's right, I couldn't.
It's from there and that. Yeah.
Load postcode map.
That's where it is.
That was a nice feature because I only put one in because I thought because I saw that and I thought right, I'm going to start using organiser now.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that's missing from organiser is would be synchronising with internet address books or not calendars but like the contacts, so you could synchronise with Google address books, but actually synchronise with them because that wouldn't be. But getting anything off Google is painful. If you can't just go save address book. You probably can do an export. Maybe we should try a bit hard. I think is the answer. But having to be able to synchronise would be great. But that's fantastic to be able to do that. That'll give me something to do then. Thank you very much.
More addresses.
Yep, so.
ROC, helping you with Acorn and RISC OS computing.